The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome once again to Ask the Treksperts. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam.
Adam, welcome back to the show.
Hey.
Thanks for being here with us. We decided to bring Adam in to help us talk about the latest two episodes of Star Trek Continues. And so have you been watching this since the beginning?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I mean, did you find out about it right away, or was it out for a bit, or?
I think the second episode had come out, and then I found out about it because I started getting buzz and stuff, and the internet and mainstream, more in the mainstream press too, somewhat.
Yeah, which is cool. Well, I think it's because it's being made by media people. Like folks that know what they're doing.
Right.
have worked on things and stuff. And so Vic Mignogna, who a lot of people know from tons of anime projects and stuff, makes a thing like this, and it immediately makes the convention rounds and stuff like that. So anyway, well, let's go ahead and get into the latest two episodes. We unfortunately didn't get around to White Iris before the hiatus, so we're going to go ahead and tackle that and Divided We Stand, which just came out a couple weeks ago. So we're not any later than we ever have been. That's really exciting. I think this is probably the closest to right after one of these we've actually tackled one. Are you guys impressed with how quickly they're pumping these things out? I think it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, the turnaround's fantastic. I mean, it's not too long before all of a sudden, hey, there's a new one out, and we get to go see what it is. Well, and it's pretty cool.
And Mignogna's gone on record to say that his big goal with this is to get an entire 26 episode season. He wants a whole season of.
Well, that won't take long at the rate
Star Trek, and they're going really quick.
5 years or so.
I mean, what's it been like? Just over a year and a half.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe 2 years by now. But we've got 5 episodes already. That's really impressive. They're cranking them out every 60 days or so.
And these two episodes, when the White Iris came out in midsummer?
Yeah.
About that. And
I guess it's 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Super cool, and I like the variation of different kinds of stories they've been telling. This time around, at least with this last one, finally got off the ship for a while, which is exciting. Well, actually, we didn't. But
not really.
We didn't really.
But we got location shooting.
But we got location shooting, and I thought it was really neat that we said, let's not just go someplace and do location, but let's do something kind of ambitious. Yeah. I think that's really neat. We didn't just go to somebody's farm or something. Mm-hmm. We could have done that.
But we get a whole Civil War reenactment.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that looks really good, and we hired a bunch of people, and
all that stuff.
We got cannons and stuff. It looked really good. Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and knock out White Iris first, and then we'll jump over to the Civil War episode. And Sarah, why don't we start with you?
No.
So White Iris, and of course, we're gonna give spoilers and stuff. These have been out for a while, and this is for folks mostly that have been watching these and keeping up with the show. It's sort of it's sort of like Star Trek Continues discussions, as it were. And so, Sarah, why don't you just give us a slight lowdown, remind people what happened in this thing, and then just tell us kind of briefly how you felt about it.
Okay, so this is the one where Kirk ends up getting a concussion on an alien planet. They fix it really fast, or so they think, but then they have an unconnected problem of his memories of people, old past loves, romances that he got killed in the line of duty, come back to haunt him, and they end up causing physical problems in addition to the hallucinations. And he has to figure out how to deal with all that and to come to terms with it and learn to basically forgive himself for the things that he had to do in the line of duty. So, I think the plot summary is pretty good. I think the execution for me personally left a little bit to be desired, simply because I spent the first half of the episode hoping it would go to a place, because I was intrigued by the hallucinations, the great references they were bringing up to old episodes we'd seen. I thought they were bringing Kirk to an interesting place, and then it all ended up just being in his mind, and I don't know, it just kind of fell apart at the end. It didn't go to the interesting place, it went to the kind of what the place, because I just don't see how the guilt and the remorse and even hallucinations would cause the physical problems of, oh, your heart's dying because you are carrying around guilt. If I can suspend my disbelief in a science fiction show when there's some sort of outside cause. So
yeah, what's weird is they had a thing they could have used for that.
Yeah, and the problem is that medication that they gave him to solve his concussion, they eliminate that as a cause.
Yeah.
It would have been really great if they had said, oh yeah, this is connected, and this plus your guilt is combining to make this strange effect. Right. But no, they say it's not physical, it's not that, you just need to talk to a psychiatrist and talk to your hallucinations.
It could have been an alien disease that caused this. It could have been two unrelated problems that happened simultaneously and parallel each other. I mean, it might have been difficult to do that and not make it seem convenient, but it could have been something like that. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Before we go any further, I want to stop for just a second and say that we've had some comments from folks in the past that have said, well, this is a fan thing that people are making with their free time. They're not making any money with. It's weird to criticize it at all. And I just want to remind folks that what we do here is review, and that we're gonna tell you what we think about a thing in positives and negatives. And yes, we are keeping that in mind. What's impressive about the show is that we can talk about it on a level, and that's a lot of the reason that we tackle it, because so many things about it are very, very legitimate. And it much of the time does feel like more TOS, and it's when it takes me out that I feel the need to talk about it. But it's impressive to me that it goes as far as it does, and that it gets as much.
I mean, the look of the show is near flawless.
Yeah.
The acting is really great, especially for a fan film
stuff
project. Yeah. I mean, you almost can talk about it as if it were a TV show, and the acting on that level, as opposed to just, oh, it's a fan project and they're okay.
So I just want to mention that we've got two, and I don't want to speak for you, but I've got two brains about a thing like this. I got two brains about everything. I think where there's the am I enjoying it? Do I like it? Would I keep watching it? Thing, and then there's the critical. I'm going to tell you if I think a thing is effective or not. And as you said, when you've got, this is a particular episode where I think that there's some concept versus execution issues. But anyway, as I'm just saying, there's the like Star Trek fan in me that gets really excited whenever one of these comes out, and I've enjoyed a lot of things about all of them.
I've enjoyed watching each of them.
Yeah.
White Iris, I think, is just. I wanted it to go to a place, and it kind of disappointed on that level.
Did you have the same thing she did?
Yeah, I did. And I also, I noticed that too about the psychosomatic cause of his heart defect. It was almost like Padme in Star Wars, and she died of a broken heart almost, the way they didn't explain it, or it just felt like. I don't know, I guess there have been instances of psychosomatic things in real life, but it just felt like a reach for me.
Well, it not only was a reach, but it made it more of a reach than it had to be when McCoy's like, this is a big mystery. Yeah. I have no idea what is causing your heart to break down. There's a lot of big logical issues like that took me out and made it difficult for me to take certain things about this episode seriously. Just in premise, it was tough for me. Right after McCoy tells Kirk that his heart is working 15% capacity, he grabs him and he's like, wake up, man! And I'm like, that's the last thing you do to a person that's got 15% heart capacity. It's like, I was ready for Kirk to have a heart attack and just drop right there. Oh my god, man! I just couldn't even believe that. It's hilarious. Like, the Kirk shouldn't even be walking around, much less have a guy go boom.
Yeah.
And that's basically what that was. So anyway, there were things like that I think were unintentionally hilarious. Yeah. And the thing is, I think they go too far sometimes with the TOS idea of messagey episodes. You know, the TOS. We've talked about this a lot, but a lot of morality plays in that show, and a lot of you get to the end of the episode and we kind of spell out the lesson. I mean, TOS did some of that too, but I feel like the last two have had a lot of just lessons spelled out the whole episode, and it's less about telling a story and more about making a point. And sometimes it's even just kind of a generic point where it's like you're just sort of saying the same thing over and over again. That sounds harsh, but it's just the way I'm seeing it.
Yeah, well, and I think it impacts us so much on these last two simply because the first three were not exactly that.
Not so much that. I still felt like there was some bits where it was heavy-handed and a little sappier than it had to be. But sometimes
overall,
does it almost border sometimes on parody on accident? Because I'm not looking at it and laughing at it and seeing it like parody really, but almost accidentally where it's like we're trying so hard to do the thing it did that we're going overboard, you know, going a little too far over the edge. I hadn't thought about it in those
terms, but I could see where you're coming from on that, yeah.
Yeah, I could see it possibly. I mean, I had the same reaction as you. I was like, at least to the second episode, it was like, you know, this is almost like the Omega Glory as far as the speech making.
I thought that too. Yeah, and we'll get there. Well, let's talk just a little bit more about White Iris real quick. Once again, my favorite things are production things, but I also and casting. They nailed all of those ladies, I think.
Yeah.
Like Miramani looked really good. In fact, I was saying this to Sarah while we were watching it. The girl that played Miramani in that, I would, if you ever did a fan project that resurrected DS9, I'd cast her as Jadzia. She looks almost spitting image of Terry Farrell in the face.
Really?
Yeah, I thought, I thought there was a really good casting thing. I thought she was really good. Edith Keeler knocked that out of the park too. She was real close, I thought. And all the costuming and the sets and stuff were really good. I don't know how much of that we built and how much was green screen, but I liked that I couldn't tell.
Yeah. And it was really fun when you first see the women.
Yeah.
Trying to guess, okay, who is this person? Yes. Where does she come from? You know, that kind of a thing. Because they don't tell you right away necessarily. They give you clues, they give you the image, but you don't they don't say, oh, that's Miramani.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Adam, let me ask you this. Do you mind this show trying to be kind of TOS season 4, do you mind how much continuity they're going back to and like doing sequels to things, and because they've done quite a bit of it already. They did lead with it.
Yes. I mean, I don't mind it, but I mean, it's not really in keeping with the original series where, oh yeah, well this happened once. We'll mention it maybe one time, if at all. And then I mean, I think I can count on one hand the number of times in the original series they referenced a previous episode because they didn't know when those episodes would air, so they could not reference anything until it was a season past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. Every now and again they would, but not a lot, and it didn't matter if you'd seen them.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, it's so weird because it's got so much authentic '60s stuff, and the music is really good, and again really authentic, and the way they built the sets and the costuming and all the stuff that we've talked about before. But the problem is that is at odds with how affected it is by current stuff. By what pop culture looks like right now. And I think it's maybe allowing itself to be too inspired by current stuff. And I mean, like I think it's tough to do both at once because science fiction is about extrapolating from now forward. If you go back and you do more TOS, you have to think about technology and even culture and stuff more from that 60s mindset.
If you want to be true to that show specifically.
Yeah, and so it's different than normal science fiction. It's almost like we're trying to extrapolate again from the 60s with maybe keeping in mind maybe some societal issues now and that kind of thing, and maybe you can get away with that a little bit, but I don't know, sometimes the flavor is at odds for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it when they take a few liberties and stuff, but I mean, at least in that area, personally, I mean, there's some things about the original series that I don't like all that much because of the, things have changed, and I don't mind them necessarily trying to maybe tinker with that a little bit while still trying to keep the original. Now, having said that, I mean, I haven't noticed as much as you have, I guess, that they've been...
Or maybe it just hasn't bugged you as much.
Or maybe just, yeah.
And sometimes there's just little moments like I wouldn't have brought up the Zindi. There's things like that here and there.
They brought the Zindi?
Yeah, there's and again it's kind of a throwaway thing, but it was Chekhov in White Iris, and he's talking about a time that Spock asks him if he can decode decryptions, and he starts to go off on a tirade. It's kind of a fun moment, but he goes off on a tirade. He's like, one time I decrypted this Zindi thing, and I'm like. I'm back and forth on it because again, since it wants to be TOS, I don't know how much I want it to go to the more recent series and try to fill in stuff here and there. I agree sometimes it's done cleverly and sometimes it's not. The holodeck thing is sort of okay, but I'm not trying to be a fanboy about it, you know what I mean? But sometimes it just kind of gets in the way. But also the Zindi thing struck me as too. Enterprise, and that sounds funny because Zindi was an Enterprise thing, but like Enterprise would name drop random species and random things, and sometimes it didn't fit and didn't really make any sense. It's sort of like in Star Trek Into Darkness with the Gorn drop. And Sarah loves to make fun of that because it's like a live birth of a Gorn. That doesn't even make any sense. Why would you have that? Well,
wouldn't they hatch from like an egg if they're a reptile?
I guess what I'm saying is if you can sneak them in a really clever way, it's cool. But this seemed more blatant. Look! We said Zindi, and I'm like, well, being able to decode a Zindi thing is impressive depending on which species it is, right? Like if you said Zindi insectoid, okay, but if it was an arboreal, I'm not that impressed.
That's true.
So, and anyway, that is a nitpick, but that's just an example of a thing where sometimes the exercise of doing this is odd, but I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so I don't know. We should get back into the actual story of White Iris. I ran off. Sorry.
So what else do we have to say?
what else do we have to say about that episode? Yeah, it was like I said, it's a little padded, and when you get to the end, I just like we said, I just don't buy the heart thing, and it just seems sappy. It's really heavy-handed. It's like no, your emotions are not physically in your heart. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work that way. You gotta have a smart explanation, and then so I don't know. That was a little bit silly. I was okay with the way the episode title played in, and the painting at the end.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. That tie-in was great at the end.
That was fine. Do you guys buy that? This was a question I had. I just don't know how I feel about it. Do you guys buy that Kirk would have gotten that guilty about that? I mean, like I go back and forth on it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because the idea is that like he's pent up this guilt for so long.
Yeah.
That it's like physically having this horrible effect on him after that after what happened to him on that planet.
Yeah.
And like I can see him having some remorse, but I also see, I don't know. I guess the problem is, again, I'm having a hard time not seeing it as a little bit sappy, where it's like,
I think my thing is that I always felt like in the original series, Kirk dealt with all of his problems in a very healthy way.
Yeah.
Where if somebody died, he mourned. If something bad happened, he dealt with it.
Well, does this fit with the guy who doesn't believe in a no-win scenario? I guess is my question. And is the no-win scenario only about him? Because I never really saw it that way. You know what I mean? Like the way Wrath of Khan plays, it's like Kirk's never lost anybody. You know what I mean? And like when Spock dies, that's it's partially his fault because of what happened with Khan.
That's a really good point, because Savick, you've never faced death. Well, he's had to deal with all these other people dying all the time.
Especially red shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the question I have is, I guess my point is, isn't there kind of a interpretation here where I always before would have seen it as these women died, there was nothing Kirk could do about it, and he would feel bad and it would be tragic, but I don't know that he would blame himself necessarily for all of them. Some of them I see more than others. Like the Edith Keeler thing, it's like, what else was he going to do? He shouldn't even have been there.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I don't mean to logic it out. You don't always think about these things logically.
Yeah, absolutely.
When these horrible things happen to you, but
I don't.
But I just don't know if I buy it. And again, if we hadn't, I guess my point is, if we hadn't gone as far as we did with it, where this has caused his heart to work at 15% capacity, I just think we're going too far with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could buy the psychological aspect of it more than the physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like,
well, I'm not saying that Kirk is perfect. I mean, I couldn't help but think of Obsession through a lot of this.
Right.
I mean, he's let his emotions get the better of him before.
Yes.
Yeah, but we've also seen him. I mean, we've also seen him lose people he cared about during the course of the show, and maybe we didn't see him react necessarily in those specific episodes enough.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that it starts from his regaining a memory that he had lost. And if we had made it just about that one memory and not about other ones that he had, it might have worked a little bit better. But I don't know that we could have gotten a whole episode about it. And I guess the problem is you get to the end and we're spending a lot of time with him over and over again with each of the ladies. No, Jim, it's okay. No, Jim, it's okay. Partly it gets redundant, and partly I think just so that we can kind of see them in their natural habitats.
Yeah, but I think you bring up a good point though. I think it would have been pretty cool if that drug had unlocked that memory, and something about the mind meld erasure of that memory coming back, where where the repression of that memory is what caused.
Suddenly he's a different person.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't have been the same person.
Yeah, and just
all this time if he'd had that memory. Now that it comes back, he's like, because I've seen this happen in a lot of science fiction things where well, actually we did this in Voyager with the Doctor, if you remember.
Latent Image.
Was it Latent Image?
I think so.
Where the Doctor accidentally or where the Doctor had to choose between two people to save.
Yes.
And he picked one. See, I thought that was repression, but I forget what it was called.
Okay.
But he had to pick between one, and it didn't compute in his program, and he had this huge ethical thing that just shut him down, and he just couldn't. Like, what if it was like that? Where once Kirk gets the memory back, it just shuts him down.
Yeah, just because
you just can't handle it.
Just because biologically he wouldn't be able to deal with a repression of a memory that long, in a way that most people don't have to deal with.
Yeah, and you could have made it all about the mind meld, because mind melds are dangerous.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to rewrite the episode. I just think there's kind of some other ways you could go about this. I did really enjoy the couple of mentions of just how often Kirk gets into romantic relationships. That was fun, and kind of wish that we
loved many women.
Yeah, and he just looks at her, and she's like, or who was it who said that?
That was Dr. McCoy, I believe.
Oh, was it McCoy? I couldn't remember if it was him or McKenna, but yeah, he says that, and then Kirk just looks at me, he's like, oh, I guess I've overstepped my bounds. I shouldn't have said that. But I don't know. There's a part of me while I was watching that I almost wished that more of the episode was about that. Where it's like, we're gonna do a whole episode about how Kirk sleeps around a lot.
Yeah.
But I guess this was more tasteful.
Yeah,
potentially. I liked it a lot more on a second viewing.
Yeah.
But it is probably my least favorite of them so far.
Yeah.
But I think that more and more Vic Mignogna is tearing it up as Kirk.
Oh yeah, he every episode I think he gets closer and closer, at least in my mind. Sometimes I forget that it's him and not Shatner.
And sometimes you'll get a shot where he's just so spitting image.
Especially if you look at him from the back. I mean, in those shots you almost can't tell.
Which is hilarious when you go back and you think of Enemy Within. and you have the stunt double.
He could have been Kirk's stunt double.
You shoot that guy from the back and you go, that's a stunt double.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't look like Kirk's hairline.
Yeah.
I know this sounds funny, but I feel like aging is going to help Vic Mignogna fit more into the role as it goes along. Like, just in a few episodes, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't been that long. I don't feel like I should be able to notice this guy aging, but I kind of feel like I am. Or maybe it's a makeup, maybe it's in hair. I'm not sure. Like more and more, he's looking like Shatner to me.
Yeah.
Really
I mean, maybe they're just getting
especially in the
more.
Civil War episode. I mean, like I was really impressed with the look.
Yeah.
There, and we'll go ahead and get into that here in a second. And also, ever since the Mirror episode, Habercorn's got me now as Spock. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I like him. I still feel his voice is a little too high for Spock, but I mean, what can you do?
I feel the same way about Manana with Kirk, though.
Yeah,
I've been saying that the whole day. He's half an octave too high.
Yeah.
But that's his voice.
Right.
He'd be doing a voice otherwise,
right.
Which I don't know if he should be doing that or not.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't think we're looking for exact replicas.
Right.
No, definitely not. Well,
it's an interpretation.
Yeah, when you do a thing like this, you don't want it to look like parody.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be careful with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the new McCoy has been growing on me too, and I mean I was glad that we went with somebody after those first couple episodes that was I think it was after the first two that just looked and sounded and acted a little bit more like McCoy, but I'm waiting for him to get to have a little bit more of that that DeForest Kelley charm.
Yeah.
Like he's got the crotchety and like irritated thing down, but whenever you have a part. You have a scene where he's supposed to like be charming and find something amusing and start smiling and stuff. He feels a little forced. Doesn't quite have it.
Yeah.
He's trying. He's working on it.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite have it.
Did you So what did you not like the original Dr. McCoy? I don't really remember much about him or how he acted.
Yeah, no, and Sarah and I talked about that with the first review we did. Yeah, he seemed too tame for McCoy.
Oh.
Like he just
too.
He wasn't real assertive.
Too reserved.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and get into Divided We Stand, and we'll start with Adam. And Adam can tell us what he thought of this episode and talk a little bit about what happened in case you haven't seen it yet or it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, basically, there's it's nanites. That's what it is, nanites.
Yeah.
They think it's a virus at first, but it turns out to be
nanites. And they invaded the Enterprise computer, and then they wind up invading Kirk and McCoy somehow.
Because they conveniently like biological organisms and non-biological organisms.
And it causes McCoy and Kirk their brains become linked, and they believe that they're in the American Civil War because that's what the computer was reading at the time, or the nanites were reading at the time that happened.
So
You're
random.
reading about it. It's like you read about something you have a dream about, or something. I guess.
Why didn't we make it like maybe something Kirk had been reading about it? They could tap into his memory, or make it something that somebody was like looking at on a console or something, and we see it at the beginning. Like it would have been cool if we'd set this up somehow.
Yeah, no, they were downloading all the information from the computer's memory, so they had to figure out what the exact thing. That's why they were looking for the exact thing that happened at the moment of the explosion.
I just think it's funny that it was like exactly that particular battle, and it just happened to be like the battle that ended the Civil War, and yeah, I think that's funny.
Yeah.
And basically the episode.
Or was it the battle that ended?
I don't think it was the.
No,
it was the bloodiest one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It happened before Gettysburg, and it was a victory for the Union, but it was very, very costly victory.
Oh, is that okay? I know Gettysburg. It's just I was like, why was Lincoln there? I don't even remember. Like, okay, all right. Well, anyway.
Yes. And yeah, so basically they're just living out the Civil War in the dream. I mean, that's all they can do, I guess.
Because the nanites have Wi-Fi.
They have no way to. So they're living out the Civil War, and Kirk makes a friend, and he loses his leg, and McCoy is a Confederate doctor. I don't know why they decided to make them separate, but then not really deal with. I thought he was going to be like on the opposite side, and they were going to wind up fighting each other from the promotional image.
Oh yeah, that could have been really interesting.
But that didn't.
That would have been a very TOS way to handle that.
Yeah.
You know, put them in almost like a mock time situation where like they got to fight now.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe where they don't even realize
they didn't realize they were fighting.
And
then
they come up against each other, and it's like, you're here.
And that would have been very because there are some things in this, of course, to compare to City on the Edge of Forever, and that would have been a lot like City, where you both go back in time, but you wind up in you go back in time in different times, or you wind up in different places, and like you're doing different things, and then you converge. And it would have been interesting because it's the same characters.
Yeah.
You know, but then in this situation, I say that it's that there's things it has in common with that because even though we're not actually back in time, they don't know that, so they're worried about messing with the timeline.
Yeah. Which is an interesting concept.
I don't think it plays real well. My biggest issue, besides some heavy-handed theme stuff, is that the structure of this episode is kind of weird. I feel like all the drama is deflated by knowing it's in their minds before they do. And I mean, like that's a thing that can work if the drama's coming from a different place. But the problem is, right after we know that we see them laying down in biobeds, I'm like, oh, they're not actually physically there. We go back to them, and immediately they start trying to figure out what it is. And McCoy goes through a laundry list of it. It's so funny because I told Sarah, I said, I wonder what it is, and I mentioned some things, and McCoy starts saying all the same things I said, and they're like, you know, we could affect the future, and I mean, like, I like McCoy's whole thing about, I don't know if I'm even supposed to save this guy. Like, should I, like maybe we've already ruined things by even being here. Is this guy supposed to die? I don't know. But the problem is, we already know that. I mean, we don't know exactly what's going on, but we know that they're not really there, and we know that these people probably are not real people.
We know that the stakes are a lot lower than we think.
And then they expect us to feel bad when that young soldier dies.
But he's not real.
He's not real.
And so I don't.
He just exists.
It makes it difficult to appreciate those dramatic situations, and even like when Kirk is trying not to kill anyone. And you're like,
they're
none
not
of
real.
them are really there. I mean, I know he doesn't know that, but I feel separated from my protagonist. That's the problem. And I don't feel like we needed to really see all the stuff that was going on the ship through a lot of it.
Right. I would have liked just them to be stuck and dealing with that dilemma, and then at the end we find that out. And some people might think that would have been kind of a cop out that the whole time you think they're really there, and then it turns out that they're not. But like we got away with it with Inner Light. I mean, like I would have done it. I would have done it. Now, kind of an Inner Light situation. On Inner Light, they did do cutaways to Picard on the bridge.
But not until much later in the episode.
Right. Yes, that's true.
Oh yeah. No. It was like last 5 minutes. It was like last 5 or 10 minutes. I think there was one towards the middle. It was after we had been there and we were still trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Yeah, well, and I want to say that there's even like a push-in where we kind of know we're in his head, but all I'm saying is we really don't know what's going on.
Right.
And also, Picard is in that episode is living out a life, and you care about the people in the way that he comes to care about them, and you kind of forget what the situation is at large. The fact that we keep cutting back and forth away from Kirk kind of deters from his getting to know these people and care about them. Furthermore, that was a character study and a character arc for Picard. In a way, this is not for Kirk. Like, this is Kirk teaching some people that don't exist about a concept that's It's kind of what it is. It's like you asked me this question when we finished the episode. What do Kirk and McCoy learn from this experience?
It doesn't seem like they take much of anything away from it, except what they brought to the table already. Kirk had his ideas about the Civil War and why it was fought, and his notions of freedom and everything that come from his experiences on the Enterprise and what he learned about history. And he brought that all with him. He doesn't take anything away from the actual experience.
Where I thought it might have been going when he starts speechifying about all that is that he might learn that it's more complex than that, and that he's looking at things too simply because he lives in a time where those problems don't exist. And then it kind of just becomes a messagey episode about freedom. I don't know that the actual story is really about that.
Yeah, there were
it's about horrors of war, and it's about bravery, and it's about sacrifices you make and that kind of thing. But I don't know that what we're actually seeing happening has anything to do with freedom. It's just Kirk kind of talking about that a lot. You know, freedom versus slavery and that kind of thing.
Normally in episodes like that, you like to see some kind of parallel with the real world. If you're in a fake reality where nothing here matters, you like to see a parallel in the real world where you're seeing it's commentary on what's actually happening. So if the Enterprise had something about the nanites had been reflected in slavery versus freedom, or if they'd been dealing with a completely separate issue, B-story kind of thing, where they're dealing with another alien race.
I just feel like the way we handled it was a little bit generic. And this might get me into some trouble with people, but wouldn't it have been really interesting if Kirk and McCoy had wound up in a Confederate unit and they found themselves sympathizing with those soldiers as people? I mean, not necessarily their cause, but just as people.
Well, it would have been more interesting to see the writer's take,
like just make it more complex.
You know, what would they do if they'd been on the Confederate side? Would they have sided with the rebels?
Would they have fought in the battle?
Or
with
would
them?
they have been completely against it and said, no, what you guys stand for isn't right? Or how would they have dealt with that? Instead, they're thrown on the Union side, which is the side that in the episode they completely agree with, the side that actually won in history, and history has said
they were right.
So whatever you believe about the Civil War, I mean, wouldn't it have been more interesting?
I'm not trying to bring
more of the complex issues.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bring personal politics. I'm just saying that, like, I kind of feel like they went the sort of obvious safe place. Like it feels like just a really patriotic, almost like July 4th episode, or something. I mean, like, it made me feel like Hugh and the Grey even handled it better, and I don't like that episode very much.
And yeah, it's just like you were saying, there wasn't that much to it. It's just like they were existing, and then they didn't learn, and nothing happened. As far as like some big, I don't know, event by the end of the episode, or like some character growth.
Yeah, I would have thought that the Civil War part would have been the most intriguing, the most interesting. That's where you want to see cool stuff happening.
Right.
And I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff on screen, but none of it was very meaningful in terms of the plot and the characters.
Until I got to the end, I was almost more interested in the nanite plot, just because...
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Just because I was trying to figure out how it was going to tie into it. And Sarah and I were discussing this, and Adam, tell me if you had a better read on this than I did. We've got Kirk in the fantasy losing his leg, and then he ends up being saved by a guy with a prosthetic limb. I don't know that we're saying anything interesting with that.
No.
Like I keep racking my brain trying to figure out what we're doing with that. And I don't think anything really.
And they're like making a big deal about it. Like, and then they're
like he made some kind of big
stuff.
Almost like he made a big sacrifice, but it's like, well, he's just gonna get a better one. Like at the end, it's like, and we're gonna give you a better one. I mean, I guess it's like you've earned it or something, but I don't really understand why it was such a big deal.
To me, it was more of a sacrifice of you might have died, as opposed to now you end the episode with only one arm. I mean, because it was a prosthetic limb and he's getting a new one.
Right.
Also, don't we live in a day and age even in TOS where there wouldn't really be a lot of stigmas attached to that kind of thing?
What I was thinking.
Like why are you keeping it a secret?
Right. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, people wouldn't, make a big deal about it. It's like Geordi on Next Generation. People.
Yeah, nobody's looking down on him because he's a blind man, and even because it's clear that like everybody can tell just looking at him. Yeah. But the idea is that we've gotten past those kinds of that kind of bigotry. Nobody's going to look down on him. He's going to be bullies on the Enterprise making fun of him about it.
Right.
You know, 4 eyes or Cyclops eyes or.
Exactly. Yeah. And as far as getting the better robotic arm, I mean, isn't this like a post-scarcity society almost? Even by TOS point, like, wouldn't you just been able to like, I want this, this new arm came out, let me just get this.
I thought the way they played it was just conveniently they happened to have developed a new one and he didn't know about it or something. That was how I saw that, but I don't know.
But that's like McCoy's not doing his job, keeping him up on the latest medical advances and stuff.
We're criticizing a lot. I want to talk about some stuff I really liked about this. Performances were fantastic all the way around. I think I liked the guest stars a lot. This felt like a consummate TOS episode in that you had a whole bunch of guest stars that. I mean, I want to say don't take over, but they sort of kind of do, just because again, they're the people that end up learning stuff. But the old bearded guy just tore it up.
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic. I thought the kid was really good.
Yeah.
And just all the Union soldiers. Even all the guys with like bit parts and stuff. I thought it all worked really well.
What do you think of Dr. Manga?
Mabanga. I loved him. I was so excited about Mabanga. It was the one thing that made me go, well, I would have structured this differently in keeping the audience engaged, but I'm glad that we got to spend that much time with him because he got gobs and gobs of technobabble dialogue and he just nailed it.
Yeah.
I thought that guy I don't know where they found that guy. I thought he was trying, and I could see somebody saying that he kind of hammed it, but I don't think for this material he did. I thought he was so just into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
He
I
was
thought
convicted,
it was great. And that was the story I was most interested in anyway. So I was really hoping to see more of it.
McCoy leaves and he just takes over.
Yeah.
It's almost like we didn't lose the Doctor at all. He's able to just jump in at a moment's notice. Imagine if we had ever gotten an episode like that in TNG with, say, like Dr. Solar or with Nurse Ogawa. You never saw Ogawa get to take over the sick bay and I'm in charge now. And it was really cool to give that to Mabanga.
Yeah.
I spent half the episode going, Siri, is that supposed to be Mabanga? I'm pretty sure that's Mabanga. And then there were a couple points where Spock talks to him over comms, and he's like, Doctor, and I'm like, say his name! And then finally, toward the end, Mabanga. Yes, it is Mabanga.
No, what we really needed was for another character to show up and call him M-Banga.
M-Banga. Remember that? Well, the problem is Dr. McCoy wasn't on the ship. Yeah, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if that guy went that far with his performance? Where he's like, I'm going to intentionally mispronounce things.
Yes. Yep. And then they're going to talk about the salad.
The salad. Well, anything else you guys want to bring up about that one?
I think we pretty much covered it. I mean,
it
was a pretty straightforward plot, comparatively.
I thought they did a pretty good job of trying to, even though they're shooting it with modern digital video cameras, trying to capture, when they did on location, the aesthetic of the 60s using 35mm film.
Well, that's a good point, because this is the first time we've really left the ship and gone and done anything. And there was a question in my mind about what the location shooting would look like and if it would still feel as authentic, and I think it does.
Yeah. Definitely.
That was probably a whole new element that they had to really consider. There's this kind of brand new level to the production that you got to bring to it, because it could have suddenly felt like a totally different show.
Yeah.
And I'm curious where they filmed it. And
yeah,
when they filmed it, because it was wintertime. You could tell during it was.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Real quick, because we forgot about it. Did you want to talk at all about the B story from White Iris? Because we didn't talk about the whole thing with
the defense grid.
With the defense grid and all that.
Oh yeah.
I had questions about the defense grid.
Well, my big problem was, why didn't Kirk have this? Why would you think somebody else would have that information?
I would imagine
just call up Starfleet.
Would have that written down in a book somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's that.
You don't entrust it with just somebody on a ship.
It just struck me as a really contrived situation where like Kirk's got to forget something, and again we could have made it something that only he would know that was important, but not that kind of a thing. I don't think. Yeah. I mean, because imagine you've had a lot of situations in Star Trek where you have a captain who has delicate information that nobody else is allowed to know. But if he was compromised, if anything happened to him, don't you think Spock would be able to call up Starfleet and then they would give him the top secret information?
You would think, but.
So that was kind of odd, and I also, I might be totally off base on this, so I'm just throwing questions out there, but I wondered about this whole notion of we're gonna give these people the defense grid, and it's not at first I thought it was weapons because the way they were talking about it, and then it turns out that it's just a big shield over the planet. So they're gonna give them a defense grid before, or they're gonna build it before they've they've officially joined the Federation. They're like, we're gonna build it. We'll give you the code when you join the Federation. I had a hard time buying that they would build it.
Yeah, that's true.
Before they were officially part of the Federation. More to the point, I guess we don't know a lot about this sister planet that's like after them and stuff. But like, why is Starfleet siding with these people?
Right.
Well, I think there was
it feels a little bit like
dialogue.
It's not arming really,
about how their two societies diverged at one point in history, and it kind of seemed like the Vulcans versus the Romulans, where these guys went more the way of peace, and the other guys, I think the word they used was materialistic, and they were just kind of.
But still, it's like they're siding in this internal conflict almost, and you think that would be a violation of the.
Well, yeah. Keep in mind that when we get to DS9, the Federation wouldn't have brought in Bajor as a member race until all the stuff with the Cardassians was sorted out.
Exactly.
Like, they wouldn't have come in and made them a member race and then just put a grid around their planet and then now the Cardassians can't get, like, they didn't do that. Like there were really specific, and also remember that even like I don't even have to go outside of TOS. Even go to Journey to Babel. It seems like there's a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy and stuff that you have to go through before you can become a member. I mean, like when you need somebody like Ambassador Sarek to negotiate. Like what exactly all the details of it are going to be. I just have a really tough time with let's build a grid and then wait around until you become a member.
I'm not sure.
We didn't bring an ambassador with us or anything. Like I don't know how it works.
Like, we weren't given enough information in there, and I'm not saying that we necessarily needed more. I think it was fine.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my read on it was I thought
fair
it was
enough.
Fine. We don't know how much there really
That's
is.
your read. It's fine.
It's okay.
Captain Logan's nitpicking. Shut up.
But we don't know how much there is to build with it. I mean, we know that there's a console that needs a password that the Federation is delivering on this trip. Mm-hmm. Is that the entire grid? I mean, with Federation technology...
They show it, I think it is.
Well,
because it's a force field, it seems like the entire force field across the entire planet is generated by this one box.
I think it is. I think that might be the idea.
I have a hard time buying that they have that technology.
I'm just saying that if that is
they would
the
need
case,
some kind of emitters.
then you're not talking about building anything.
Right.
You're just bringing them this console that's not going to be turned on
until
that's
fair.
Kirk says, yeah, you're admitted. So... Yes, we agree.
Okay.
Oh, so they were just preemptively...
Yes! They say that's what they did!
They're just...
they were waiting. That's why he hadn't given them the code yet.
Oh my god.
I don't know, I thought that was silly.
This is a little incentive. This is like what you do with children.
Yeah, and it's like... Well, and I just think it's weird because what if they attacked before they joined the Federation?
Yeah,
and then they do attack and it's like, oh, well, you don't have the code yet. And I'm like, well, it's great that you waited this long. The ending of that was also kind of unintentionally hilarious to me because they're shooting tricobalt devices. And
23 of them.
They're 26 or something. They're shooting all these tricobalt devices at the planet. Somehow or rather, this grid, I guess, deflects subspace weapons. There was something about how like they had to detonate them, so I guess like, with torpedoes or something. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, so they're shooting subspace weapons. They're shooting that many. They obviously want this planet destroyed, right? And then when it turns out they have the defense grid, we find out at the end that the sister planet is like, oh, and they've signed a treaty with them now. Like,
they've opened peace talks.
They've opened peace talks. Is that? I thought there was a treaty already. Was it? Okay, it was peace talks. Yeah. Is that what would happen? It's like, okay, you've got a grid. We can't get through that crap. Fine, peace talks. Like, is that what would happen? Like that day?
Okay, so you've got
that day.
You've got a planet.
Our evil planet.
You've got a planet.
They seem more advanced than them. They've got tricobalt devices.
Yeah, but you've got a planet that this planet can't attack, can't hurt, can't hit anything. So if this guy decided to get mad at this guy, he can fire as much as they wanted, and they're defenseless.
Yeah.
But they can't shoot anything back.
Okay, so I guess I can see that, but then I need to know what kind of technology they have, because just looking at them, I get the sense that they couldn't do much of anything to that other planet.
Yeah, they don't show very much, do they?
But, whatever. But I did think some of the cultural stuff with them was really fun.
Yeah.
Like their whole bow thing was hilarious. Like, when Kirk had to bow to them and he's like this, that was so funny.
Did you like
Flashes of tac-tac.
Did you like Colin Baker as the main...
Is that who that was?
Who that was.
No way! Yeah. That's awesome! That's who that was?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought he was great, but I didn't realize that's who it was.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up. It's awesome. Okay, well anyway, we belabored this long enough. As I said, we had some complaints, and this is a thing where both of these particular episodes, anyway, I love the production and the acting a lot more than the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
But that's just my 2 cents. Nobody fire Tri-Cobalt devices.
At least not before you get the password.
Yeah.
I love that they're getting these out as quick as they are. It's really cool.
Yeah, and they're still a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, no, it does feel like new Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
more than
very authentic for fan films not created in the 1960s.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really feels like. See, now I want to see some fan films created in the 1960s.
It'd be like Super 8, and there wouldn't be any sound, and people would just be like the light would just be one of the, like, maybe if you're lucky, a light on the camera that.
Yeah, I get excited about it. It feels like having new Star Trek again, and it's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And so far, the ratio of episodes I love to episodes I thought were mediocre is better than TOS at the moment. I mean, we had 5. 3 of them I thought were pretty darn good.
Let's be honest, there hasn't been an episode in this show yet that's been as bad as the worst episodes of TOS.
I don't think even mid-range, really.
Yeah.
I mean, no, definitely not.
None of them have hurt, is what you're saying.
Yeah. None of them have been.
But I mean, like the Orion episode, I thought was fantastic. I had issues with the ending.
I still like the Apollo one.
But the Apollo one's amazing, and the Mirror one was really fun, if nothing else. So anyway, well,
definitely.
Everybody, thanks as always for watching Ask the Treksperts, and if there's anything you would like to ask us about on Ask the Treksperts to talk about in a future episode, make sure and leave your comments in the comments. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam.
Thanks for watching.